Hello, Nano Love. Welcome to this channel. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, share, and come live here with us because today we're going to talk about a topic that's always trending and always stirs up a lot of controversy. Progressive hair sealing, Botox, formaldehyde, and acids in general. So I'm going to share my thoughts here and talk about some experiences. As you know, I really share my home, my Google photos, and all the files I have of clients and case studies to show you in practice what things are really like and what actually happens. Without too much theory or beating around the bush, let's get straight to this controversial topic. Let's go there, Nano Love. I'm going to start by showing a video from my own archive, which I produced myself. It was a test here. These tests we do, product against product. They're not the same as on a client's hair. We would never apply a bleach to a client's hair and then right on top of that bleach, apply a straightening product. Let's just generalize here and call all these products straightening products, okay? So we would never do that. But in the lab, we need to see how these products react together to observe their behavior, okay? So that's important to point out to you. Yeah, another detail. Today I'm going to show you with a bleach, but this particular straightening product will also react with hair dye, with temporary or even permanent toner. Hypoallergenic products, it truly doesn't matter at all. Why is that exactly the case? Both bleach and hair dyes require oxidation, and that's what causes the change in the hair strand, in the hair color. So when we're going to change the texture, you're interfering inside there, right? Inside the cuticle layer, which is the cortex. That said, when we do a strand test for bleaching on our client's hair, what happens is to find out if the hair is healthy. And right there, the bleaching itself shows if there's any incompatible product, if the color will lift evenly from roots to ends, if it will oxidize, if everything will go well or not. So there's no point in the client hiding anything, because if the professional trusts their word and there's an incompatible product and the professional does the strand without the test, that hair will break. It might not break right away, but it will break over time. And often it takes years off the client's hair. If the client has hair down to her shoulders, chest, bust, or waist, it can all just be ruined. And then it starts deteriorating. That's what happens. So here I'm mixing the bleach with two types of relaxers. One contains formaldehyde and the other has hyaluronic acid. Yes, there are several types of acids on the market, okay? So when we mix them, you can see that with the formaldehyde, it's stable, right? The two products don't interact aggressively already with hyaluronic acid. As soon as I put it in the bowl with bleach and 30 volume developer, which is what I usually use in the salon, I don't use 40, it immediately starts to foam, and you can see the product doubling, tripling, even quadrupling in size until it boils and turns into a gas and a liquid. In fact, that day I inhaled some of that little smoke that came out and I felt really sick afterwards. What does that show? It shows that in hair, there are bleaching products, and for blondes, there's greater oxidation. Many hair dyes degrade hair color significantly, almost like bleaches. So what's better, safer? Use a mixture that doesn't destabilize, because a destabilizing mixture will definitely cause problems with the interaction of the two products at some point on the client's hair. And that's what I'm going to show you. So what can actually happen? Rubberiness, hair breakage, and color change in the less severe cases. In the less severe cases, the color changes, okay? Sad, right? Now, I want to share with you cases of clients I've experienced here in my salon. Let's go. In 2019, you'll see here. In 2019, this client came to me and all of this blonde part of her hair was rubbery. Dry, you can see it's sensitive, but when wet, the hair was like rubber. She came to me for the mega hair procedure, right? The NANOslim. I'll even show a little video here of her hair. Guys, it took a long time to recover this hair because all of the blonde part turned rubbery. Today, she's no longer blonde. She chose her natural hair color. Her hair now reaches her waist, okay? It's perfect. But at that moment, she came to me desperate because she knew her hair was going to break, and it wouldn't recover. I didn't film her hair wet, but there are plenty of videos like that online we can see, right? You can, unfortunately, see how many people are harmed due to lack of information. Here is a client I received in May 2020. Just look at that, right? And what happened? The client dyes her hair because she has gray strands and her hair was really stiff and simply faded. So when the client went to get an acid-based straightening, the Brazilian brushing as we call it in the United States, her hair simply faded, revealed this color, and she couldn't get highlights anymore because she used to have highlights in her hair. Besides degrading the color of the dye, it left her head extremely stiff and made it impossible for her to get highlights afterwards. Why? You can see how it's uneven. Tone at the roots doesn't match tone at the ends. The hair is sensitive at the end. You can see the breakage due to chemical interaction from coloring, bleach, plus acid-based straightening. Look at this. And she used NANOslim with me, and what happened? She tried to correct the orange with purple, using purple shampoo and mask, and the hair turned completely purple wherever it was blonde and didn't have the acid straightening. So here's the thing, guys. Now I'm going to talk to you. This is really serious. What did I do there? Reverse highlights to try to improve the situation, because otherwise I would have had to darken all of her hair. What's truly important here, it's the unwavering loyalty to the professional and the high quality brands that are used in the chemicals for your hair. Look, from one hair color to another, there are differences in shade between them. Hair dye and toner are different, okay? So there are a lot of clients who even color their hair at home, and each time they buy a different color. Dye doesn't lighten dye, it doesn't change the tone of the hair, you can only darken it. And then you end up with a hair we call barcode. It's the kind of hair we dread in the salon. Why is that? When this client asks to get highlights, it's terrible. And this barcode effect today isn't just about hair color. It also has to do with chemical products. So look, when you seal or straighten your hair, it's a very serious and important matter. Your hair will grow, and you'll need to reapply that product to the area that has grown out over time. And then you keep switching brands, you keep changing the active ingredient because there are several acids on the market: glyoxylic, hyaluronic, gluconic. There are a lot. Just like formaldehyde, some straightening treatments have both. So it's complicated to keep jumping from one thing to another, whether with a professional, the brand, or the product's active ingredient. This will harm you, okay? This hair completely misshapen. To recover this hair, switch to NANOslim because she was blonde. Look where she tried to neutralize the orange with purple. Guys, purple only tones yellow. You absolutely cannot tone orange with purple. It just doesn't work, okay? You really have to study Oswald's color star to be able to properly do it, right? Yeah, what truly needs to be done is to make the tone completely neutral. This is a fundamental principle of color theory. If you have orange, you have yellow and red. What's missing is blue. Blue will darken this hair because orange has red with even more red components. So it's going to reinforce the red that's already in the hair. What is violet? It's blue and red. When you try to neutralize orange with violet, you're actually adding more reds to that orange color. It absolutely won't tone it down, because what violet effectively corrects is yellow. If the tone is already a deep red, it simply won't correct it anymore. It won't, because it also contains red, okay? That was the situation, right? And then we also had a client who came to us with hair that was damaged from progressive straightening and organic Botox treatments. When you read the label, it's an acid. When we talk about acid, what exactly are we talking about? It is the opposite of the active ingredients in hair dyes and bleaches. Why is that? We need to use a chart, a scale, which we call the pH chart or pH scale, that measures the hydrogen potential in products. And when you bleach your hair, when you get highlights, it's here. And when you bring that pH to an acid, it's here. And acid is very acidic. Formaldehyde is around 3.5. There are some acidic hair straighteners that go as low as 1.5. And doing both procedures on the same day, that's even worse. Here in my salon, we have a 15-day break between highlights or coloring and a hair sealing treatment. If my client gets a formaldehyde sealing treatment and wants to color her hair the same day, the product needs to be removed, and even then the color doesn't take well. You still get that white transparency. Why is that? Because sealing treatment coats hair outside. Coloring, however, penetrates inside the hair strand. Bleach also penetrates inside the hair strand. But Vanessa, do I need to acidify the hair after bleaching? Yes, with a treatment. Not like sealing, which is a chemical process that aims to coat the hair. You need to restore that hair. It's also wrong when the client gets highlights and we do a specific treatment to replenish the nutrients the hair needs on the day of bleaching, and then she goes home and washes her hair again. That's wrong. Ideally, you should leave the hair alone, letting it absorb the nutrients and recover from the chemicals for 48 to 72 hours after. Washing it the next day is also wrong. The right thing to do is to give your hair a break. so it can recover. So only the professional knows what you can do before, what you can do after, how long the break should be between the two, and which treatment to use in between. This was also hair we restored with NANOslim, but it took more than 2 years because look at where it broke. Pretty much the entire area where she had that acid, the hair broke and became rubber, okay? And that's exactly what happens. These situations are happening more and more often. And let me point out another detail, okay? Here you can already see the result with NANOslim, all right? Yes. And let me warn you about something else. It's not just Botox, keratin treatments, and straightening products that contain acid. Nowadays, we even have to be careful with shampoos and masks on the shelves, yes, being sold out there, which interact with people who have colored or bleached hair. Here we have a client who, look at her hair, it's long. And she came to me to get highlights, okay? Look, when I parted her hair, look at the spots. You know, when I parted her hair, it looked like the client had used a flat iron on it. You know, when you're ironing, you're pressing a white shirt and you leave the iron on one spot a little too long. You turn to say something to someone, and when you look back, it's already yellow. Did it burn? That's exactly the feeling I had with this client, where there's acid and it was flat ironed, it oxidized and turned this orange color. If you zoom in, you can clearly see in detail that she has spots in her hair. Even the application of these products has to be done very carefully, guys. It has to be very even. If the application isn't super even, your hair is going to have problems. Did you use acid? Don't try to go blonde. Don't try. You're going to have problems, okay? We did the procedure, but I was only able to work on the ends to try to even out the spots, but it still stayed patchy for quite a while until it grew out and was cut. Here's another case, okay, of acidic progressive straightening. Look at what it does to the hair. It tangles up all the hair. This is very dangerous, okay? Very dangerous, guys. Very sad. Here is a strand test from a client who bought the product online. She brought it in and wanted to lighten her hair again. She also had color in her hair, and we did a strand test. What happened? You can see the spots there. Yeah, a much lighter root, and the ends are more oxidized. So since she brought the product, I did the test on her hair as well. So take a look on her hair. I did the bleach test. What did it show me on the hair? Spots. It wasn't that sensitive because this client didn't do it frequent. She did it just once, and that was enough to stain her hair, okay? Since she brought the product, as soon as I did the test on her hair, with what was left in the little jar, I was already identifying it by the label, by the composition of the name. It's the composition that matters to us to find the active ingredient, okay? Then I took the leftover bleach with 30 volume developer, which I always use for testing, and did the test there with the sealing product she had applied to her hair. So look, not every hair will become gummy. Maybe if she had been very blonde when she applied this straightening treatment, her hair would have turned gummy. But the first barrier, right? The first problem we had was just the hair color, okay? Why? Because she had only done it just once. She had previously colored her hair. So when she carefully flat ironed that hair with a dye, it effectively oxidizes. It truly locks in that vibrant color. And natural hair lightens quite differently from colored hair. As soon as you apply the product with the bleach, look at the reaction. This is proof that they are incompatible. That doesn't mean we're going to apply both products together on the client's hair. Never. With the client, we always do a strand test to see how the hair will react. So I did the highlights for this client. Let me see if I can find it here. I did. Here's the dry test. You can see how much more golden the roots are and how much more yellow the ends are. In other words, I had to work more on the ends and even out the tone to more of a buttery golden shade because we wouldn't be able to achieve a very light blonde, right? And this here was the result of the highlights, which were honey highlights. And I had to tone the entire root because there was a mismatch of tones there. So this is the least serious case, but there are much more severe cases. So to keep it short, Nano Love, what is my message for you here? You really need to have a consistent schedule, a clear protocol, and a detailed calendar for your hair. You have many important dates like birthdays, special weddings, and exciting trips when you truly want your hair to look its absolute best. So you need to know the right timing for your hair, which month you should do it, and which treatments. So you really need to have a professional, to have the support of a professional. And what is a hair calendar? Nowadays, for blondes, I don't do it in less than 4 months. So the ideal for highlights, every 6 months, twice a year, or every 4 months, 3 times a year. So you already know that you'll be getting highlights 3 times a year. You just need to schedule your dates, plan your treatments, and decide what products you'll use. There are many clients who don't follow their home care instructions, the at-home care routines, and that's important. I need to know if there's any chemical treatment in your hair, if it's colored, which brand and what color. Why? If you keep changing the color or the brand of your hair dye when it's time for highlights, this problem will show up. That's why sometimes when we do a strand test, the hair shows yellow, golden, orange, reddish orange, red, and dark red. Why? Hair dye leaves residue behind. Whether you keep reapplying it or during rinsing, you actually end up leaving more residue on the ends. It's important that you understand this and consult a professional. So I work very consciously with my clients, showing them all of this and making everything very clear. It's not just any product, and it's not because someone tells you it's okay or that it's organic. Guys, nothing that comes from the cosmetic chemical industry can be organic. It's not grown in a vegetable garden. It needs approval from Anvisa, and there's more. Besides that, it's the day-to-day life in the salon, guys. The hairdresser is the one who deals with all the problems that result from chemical interactions. It's in my chair that hair ends up turning orange, and the client thinks I'm the one who has to fix it, when in reality the hair is your history. If you have hair that's 36 centimeters long, that's 3 years worth of hair. So imagine applying products to your hair every 2 months for 3 years. When you sit in my chair, you already have a 36-month history. I need that history for the outcome of my work. If your hair is natural, what products have you used on it? And then when you agree to use a product whose origin you don't know, that you know nothing about, whether it's compatible with highlights or not, when you come to my chair, it won't pass the strand test. So that's it. Hair is about awareness. If you want your hair to be sleek, straight, and also have great color, you need to have a routine and a schedule. Okay, got it, love? Have you ever had a bad experience? Has your hair ever broken? Has it ever gotten rubbery? Has anyone ever sold you something claiming it was something else? Tell me about that experience in the comments. I'm dying to know. And also share this with that friend of yours who needs to know, send it to her. And hey, come join this family. I can't wait to interact with you all about this super controversial topic. And remember, treat your hair with lots of love and care. See you in our next video.